The Red Cross says your family needs 17 specific items to survive the first 3 days of a disaster. Most families I talk to think they have most of it covered. The real number is 4 out of 17. Today I'm showing you exactly which ones you're missing, what it actually costs to close that gap, and the 3 items nobody thinks about until it's already too late. Stay with me until the end, because the biggest gap on this entire list isn't what you'd expect, and it's the one that separates people who survive the first week from people who just survive the first 3 days. I've spent years breaking down what actually matters when the power goes out, when the water stops running, when the roads are blocked and the shelves at every store within 20 miles are already empty. And this list is where every serious stockpile should actually start. Let's start with water, because everything else on this list depends on it. The Red Cross standard is 1 gallon per person, per day, for a minimum of 3 days. For a family of 4, that's 12 gallons sitting somewhere in your house right now, today, not something you plan to fill up if the weather report looks bad. Already stored, already sealed, already rotated every 6 months so it doesn't go stale. Most people have a single case of bottled water sitting in the garage and assume that covers it. It doesn't, not even close. A case of water is maybe a day and a half for one person, let alone 3 days for a family of 4. A 55-gallon water barrel runs somewhere around $80 to $100 and will comfortably cover a family for well over a week, which is exactly why you'll see them stacked in the garages of anyone who's actually lived through an extended outage. And water isn't just for drinking. Cooking, basic hygiene, even flushing a toilet when the water pressure fails, all of it draws from the same stockpile, which is why the 1 gallon number gets eaten through far faster than most families expect on the actual first day. If you've never tried living off stored water for even 24 hours as a test run, you genuinely don't know how fast 12 gallons disappears once 4 people are drinking, cooking, and washing hands from the same supply. Next up is a battery-powered or hand-crank emergency radio, and this one gets overlooked constantly because everybody assumes their phone will keep working no matter what. Cell towers go down. Cell towers lose backup power after roughly 8 hours in a real, sustained outage, and once that backup runs out, your phone becomes a very expensive flashlight. A hand-crank NOAA weather radio doesn't care if the grid is down, because it generates its own power, and it's often the only reliable way to receive emergency broadcasts once everything else goes silent. These run anywhere from $25 to $60, and a good one will also charge a phone in a pinch. During major hurricanes along the Gulf Coast, emergency officials have pointed out again and again that the households who stayed informed in the first critical hours weren't the ones checking social media, they were the ones with a radio tuned to the local emergency frequency, because that signal kept broadcasting long after cell service collapsed under the weight of everyone trying to call their families at once. Here's one most households fail without even realizing it. A flashlight for every single member of the family, along with extra batteries stored separately so they don't corrode together in a drawer. Not candles. Candles are a genuine fire risk in a home that may already have gas leaks or structural damage after an earthquake or a storm. A real flashlight, LED, rated for at least 40 hours of battery life, costs less than $15, and every person in your household should have their own. Then there's the first aid kit, but not the $10 version hanging by the pharmacy checkout line. The Red Cross standard kit includes gauze, adhesive tape, antiseptic wipes, tweezers, a thermometer, and enough over-the-counter medication to handle common injuries and illness for a minimum of 3 days. If you take a daily prescription, this next one connects directly. A 7-day supply of your medications, clearly labeled with dosage and your name, rotated as you refill your regular prescriptions, so it never quietly expires unnoticed in a bag. This is the single item most seniors skip entirely, and it's the one that can turn a manageable emergency into a genuine medical crisis within 48 hours if it's missing. Pharmacies close during major disasters just like every other business, and even when they reopen, supply chains for critical medications can take days to catch up, which means that 7-day buffer isn't a suggestion, it's the actual margin between staying stable and ending up in an overwhelmed emergency room alongside hundreds of other people in the exact same situation. Now let me ask you something, because this next stretch of the list is where most people realize just how big their gap really is. A whistle to signal for help sounds almost too simple to belong on a serious list. But if you're trapped under debris or separated from your group in a chaotic evacuation, a whistle carries sound far longer and far further than a shouting human voice ever will, and it costs almost nothing. Dust masks are another one that barely needs an explanation anymore, not after the last several years of wildfire smoke rolling across half the country. You want at least 2 per person, rated N95 or higher, stored in a sealed bag so they stay clean and ready. Air quality during wildfire season can spike to hazardous levels within hours, long before any official evacuation order comes through. And having masks already sitting by the front door means you're not scrambling through a sold-out pharmacy aisle while smoke is already rolling down your street. This next one surprises people every time. Plastic sheeting and duct tape, which the Red Cross specifically recommends for sealing off a room in the event of chemical or airborne contamination nearby. Most households have duct tape buried somewhere in a junk drawer. Almost nobody has actual heavy plastic sheeting set aside and pre-cut to size, and that gap is exactly what turns a 15-minute task into a panic-driven scramble when it actually matters. And here's the one nobody wants to think about, but it hits faster than almost anything else on this list: moist towelettes, garbage bags, and plastic ties for personal sanitation. When water service is disrupted, sanitation becomes a real, urgent problem within 24 hours, not a slow decline over a week like most people assume. Disaster relief workers consistently point to sanitation breakdowns as one of the fastest ways a manageable emergency turns into a genuine health hazard for an entire household, especially with young children or elderly family members in the home. Quick gut check before we move on. So far, that's 9 items. If you're mentally checking off less than half, you're exactly the person this video is for. And you're not alone. Most families are in the same boat. This is usually the exact point in the list where people realize their "I'm probably fine" assumption was wrong. Because the items that feel small, a whistle, a mask, some plastic sheeting, are almost never the ones people think to buy on their own until something forces the question. A wrench or a pair of pliers for turning off your home's utilities, particularly the gas line, is next. And it matters more than people realize in case of a leak after an earthquake or major structural event. If you don't know exactly where your gas shutoff valve is right now, pause this video and go find it, because in a real emergency you will not have the luxury of time to search for it while gas is actively leaking. Now here's a story veterans tell almost word for word, and it's about the most overlooked item on this entire list: the manual can opener. You can stockpile 100 cans of food in your pantry, but if every opener in your kitchen is electric, or the one manual opener you own is buried at the bottom of a drawer you haven't opened in months, that entire stockpile might as well be sealed in concrete. A good manual can opener costs about $8 and takes up no space at all. Veterans who've stood in the middle of an actual grid-down situation describe the exact same scene: a garage full of canned food and not a single working can opener within reach, because the only one in the house was electric, or it walked off to a drawer nobody thought to check. It's a $2 problem that turns into a 2-day problem if you don't fix it in advance. Local paper maps come next, the old-fashioned kind you can unfold on a kitchen table, because GPS depends on both satellite signal and phone battery, and neither one is guaranteed when you're trying to navigate around blocked roads or find an alternate evacuation route at 2 in the morning. A cell phone with chargers and a backup battery is the one modern addition to the classic Red Cross list that wasn't there 20 years ago. A solar charger or a large power bank rated for several full phone charges should be a standard part of every household kit now, not an afterthought you throw in at the last minute. A quality power bank in the $20 to $30 range will typically get you through 3 to 4 days of moderate phone use, which can be the difference between staying connected to emergency alerts and going completely dark. Family and emergency contact information written on actual paper, stored inside the kit itself, matters more than it sounds, because if your phone dies, you need those numbers somewhere that doesn't require a battery, a signal, or a working screen to access. Here's the one veterans bring up again and again as the item they wish more people understood: extra cash in small bills. When the power is out, card readers don't work, ATMs don't work, and the only currency that actually moves in a disaster zone is whatever cash is already in people's pockets. The Red Cross recommends keeping enough on hand for several days of basic purchases: stored separately from your everyday wallet so it's never accidentally spent down to nothing before an emergency even starts. After major hurricanes and ice storms, local news crews have shown the same scene over and over. Long lines outside the one gas station or convenience store still running on a backup generator, and the owner posting a handwritten sign that simply says, "Cash only," because their card reader has no signal and no power to process anything electronic. The people who walk away with fuel and supplies in those moments are almost never the ones with the highest credit limit. They're the ones who had $40 or $50 in small bills sitting in a drawer at home. A fire extinguisher rated for both electrical and grease fires comes next, mounted somewhere genuinely accessible in the kitchen or garage, not buried in a closet behind the holiday decorations where it'll take 5 minutes to find during an actual fire. Most house fires that spread out of control weren't unstoppable. They were just slowed down by someone fumbling to find the extinguisher in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the last one, the item that ties the entire list together, is a complete change of clothing and a sturdy pair of shoes for every member of the household, including rain gear. Because if you have to evacuate on foot or work outside in bad conditions, whatever you're wearing the moment disaster strikes is often what you're stuck wearing for the next several days. Now here's the gap I promised you at the start, the one that separates a 3-day survivor from someone who's actually ready. The Red Cross 17 items are a baseline, not a finish line. It's designed for the general public, built to cover a broad range of possible disasters, and it assumes a relatively short disruption of roughly 3 to 5 days before outside help fully arrives. Veterans and experienced preppers who've actually lived through extended outages will tell you the same 17 items only get you through the very beginning of a real crisis. They double up on water storage well past the 3-day minimum, often keeping 2 to 3 weeks on hand instead of 3 days. They keep a battery bank or small generator capable of running a mini fridge or a CPAP machine, not just topping off a phone. And they treat the manual can opener, the cash, and the medication supply as the 3 items they physically check and restock every single month, rain or shine, rather than something they set up once and forget about for a year. That monthly habit is the real difference between people who talk about being prepared and people who actually are. There's a specific mindset that comes from military training, one that treats preparedness as a rotating system instead of a one-time purchase, and it shows up in small but telling details. A veteran stockpile isn't just bigger. It's organized by expiration date, checked on a schedule, and tested under real conditions instead of sitting untouched in a box for years. That's the actual gap between the Red Cross baseline and what serious preppers build for themselves. And it's a gap you can close gradually, 1 item and 1 month at a time, without needing to spend a fortune all at once. Most people who eventually build a solid stockpile don't do it in a single weekend. They do it exactly the way we just laid out, starting with the cheapest, highest impact items first. So here's your homework, and I mean this seriously. Go through your house tonight, while this list is still fresh, and write down what's actually missing. If you're like most families, you'll find 4 or 5 items already covered, and a long list of gaps you never realized existed. Start with the manual can opener and the cash, because those are the 2 items people forget about until the exact moment they need them most, and by then, it's already too late to fix. If this list opened your eyes to a gap in your own preparedness, you're not behind. You're simply getting started at the right time, before you actually needed any of it. Drop a comment and let me know which of these 17 you already have covered, and which ones you're adding this week, because the people holding each other accountable in the comments are usually the ones who actually follow through. And if you want the next step, where we break down exactly what to stockpile from stores like Tractor Supply and Harbor Freight for pennies on the dollar, that video is linked right here, so you can keep building on what you just learned today. Stay ready, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.